The fight continues and our captains start to bring the pain. Except for Shinji, he got his face blasted off. But Sajin is taking no prisoners. But the real question is, what's been adapted and what's new? In this video, I'll be comparing Bleach's latest episode with its manga counterpart. And since we will be diving into the manga, there will be some light spoilers. The following episode is titled Heart of Wolf, and it adapted chapters 555 to 560. Captain Komamura shows the depth of his hatred to Yuha by selling his very soul, and Bambi gets what's coming to her. We also have a very nice off-the-ropes fight with Superstar, one-shotting Ikaku and the gang. And if you haven't noticed, this episode covered 6 manga chapters. And what I noticed is that they really didn't have time to be adding or removing stuff. They did do a little shuffling around, but mostly keeps everything standard. So when we get to the numbers, you'll see exactly what I mean. But let's see what's been adapted and what's had its heart eaten out. So okay, before this episode is all over the place, I'll try to pace myself and begin at the beginning. The episode begins showing us the Sternritters starting to show their real power. When Yuha says it's time for true despair, this would be taken from the end of chapter 554. After that, we skip all the way practically to the end of chapter 555, where we see the Sternritters' wings resonating and the girls commenting on how dumb Bampietta is. This would be the end of the chapter and the start of the episode. Once the episode resumes, we are back on track with chapter 555, titled The Hero. Now, the chapter begins showing us Ichigo. However, in this episode, he isn't seen, so I won't be spoiling it since it hasn't been animated as yet. We'll just skip over this and go right to Bambi versus Shinji. This is where she shows off her new look, and I really love the design and the animation approach taken by the studio to show how the Sternritter's wings resonate and look. Bambi decides that it's time to take the Reverse Master out by blasting him in the freaking face, and oh my god, does he get blasted. I think she also blasted a hole in his chest. Anyways, this would be where we would switch over to the other Sternritters who realize that now they can use their abilities, but this was animated a bit earlier in the episode. I did notice that we skipped these 2 panels, practically the only 2 panels that we ever skipped. Most of the other panels were just omitted completely, or I'm guaranteeing they will be animated in the next episodes to come. But for now, let's move on to chapter 556, titled Wolf's Bane. And this starts out when Shinji got his face and chest blasted. Bambi lets him know that it doesn't matter if her senses are messed up, she would just blast everything around her. So she starts a second assault, only to realize that the dog captain is as loyal as any hound and protects Shinji with his own body. In a surprise attack, Hinamori launches at Bambi, but it's no shock that she wouldn't survive an attack by Bambi because after all, Shinji got his face blasted off, right? And he's a captain. Komamura pulls Hinamori from the battle, letting her know that she wouldn't be able to survive and he can handle it. Bambi then attacks him and it seems his armor can withstand the blasts. But then she turns up the heat even more, which breaks through his armor. She lets him know that her bombs can't be guarded against. As she's firing her reishi and anything it touches becomes a bomb. She then starts her assault once more and Komamura protects Hinamori once more. Once she finishes her attack, she then notices his face. He now looks like a freaking human, and I mean, what the hell happened here? Seems during his training with the Great Sage Dog, can't believe I said that, it involved him ripping out his own heart and becoming a human somehow. Who knew? And he's willing to do anything for his former commander, even give up his own life. We then get a quick anime exclusive scene of him telling Hinamori to take Shinji and go, where he then releases his Bankai with an even more spectacular look than before. Kokujo Tengen Myo, Dangai Juho. Damn, that sounds so cool rolling off the tongue. This would be where the chapter ends. Chapter 557, titled Left My Life Behind, begins with Komamura's Bankai hitting its mark and shattering buildings in its way. But Bambi escapes, and she even comments on how his Bankai doesn't look normal anymore. And she launches an attack, but it blocks it. Then she notices that it damages him too. He then says something very strange to me about how his Bankai works, but I'll just gloss over that for now because I'm totally confused and that went over my head so much. So he continues with his onslaught. Bambi isn't fazed and she's confident that her abilities can turn anything into bombs, will triumph against this giant. But when she tries her ability once more, it doesn't affect the Bankai. There are a few panels here that were moved down in the anime, but we can move on for now. I'll highlight those when we get to them. Seems Komamura Komamura may have undergone some incredible change. But again, us nor Bambi has any real understanding of what's happening to him. So she continues to attack, only to realize that he has a hole in his chest. This is where the secrets of his technique would start to unravel. Seems he has become undead or something along that lines. Basically, he's become immortal by giving up his heart, and now his body is just a hollow shell. This makes him not being able to die by conventional means. This is where we get those panels from earlier. But before Bambi has time to process such a thing, his Bankai would attack. She retaliates, but to no avail. It slashes right through her. This is where the chapter would end. Chapter 558, titled Heart of Wolf, begins with the elder dog reflecting on a young Komamura, saying that he is one of the clan now. And then we're back to our epic showdown. Bambi can't deflect her own bombs quick enough as his Bankai is just pushing them back to her, which causes a huge explosion. Seems this is the end for her as she's now defeated. But what's this? Komamura's Bankai falls apart for some reason. He seems to have reached the end and drops to the ground before he can even defeat Yuha. In the meantime, the elder's voice is saying that he has become nothing but revenge, which is where his true form would now show, and now he shall return to being a part of the clan. This is where we see him transform into a full-fledged dog, or wolf. He's realized what he's become and the price that he must pay. Now his life as a human has come to an end. But it seems that his own life force has empowered the elder. Very sad if you ask me. The poor captain passes out, in which case Iba finds him and then takes him from the battlefield, saying that it's time for them to defeat Yuha. Damn, I can't believe it. It actually got sadder. When we get back to it, we get an anime exclusive scene of Oryu visiting Kang and BG9. I wonder what this is about. Manga readers already know, but it's really nice to see this animated. Now over to Bambi, as she seems to have lost and can't come to terms with being the first one down. Poor girl. This sentiment is shared by her posse, who now stand over her. At first I thought they were going to help her until I saw the fear in her eyes. These guys don't really care about each other, do they? I bet they'll do something utterly horrible to her, but for now we would just skip over. There was a few other panels that weren't animated from the chapter here, but again, I believe those will be animated in the future. So what I'll do is I'll blur those out and move on and say this is where the chapter will come to an end. Chapter 559, titled The Night Rite, begins with our captain commander having a little chat with the leader of the Sternritter. They say that it seems that the Sternritters and the Shinigami are evenly matched, and Jugo decides that he's had enough of this shield and breaks it wide open. Seems he's been stealing reishi from the barrier all this time, but Nanao isn't a fool. She used the time to concoct a real barrier, which is much stronger than the previous one. But Jugo isn't impressed and starts to attack, only to realize that his master is now calling him, so he has to stop for now and head out. But he does promise the captain commander that he'll be back for some tea later. Is it weird for me to say I can't wait to see these two guys having tea? This is where the manga would skip over to Shuhei meeting up with the boys and getting attacked by Nacho Libre. But this was all animated in the previous episode, so we can proceed. Now the panels that we get after that, I won't explain what happens next, as I believe again that this will be animated in the next episode. So as you can see, they've been skipping out panels here and there for chapter 555 coming all the way to now, which I'm pretty sure they'll just put in a jam-packed episode next week. So look out for that, and then I'll start to explain what happened during then. But like I said, just look out for that. Now after all of that, we get this really cool anime exclusive scene of James crying over Superstar to wake him the fuck up. Once he gets up, he then smashes Ikaku and the gang. He would turn to James and they would both lament over not having an audience to see his awesome brilliance. But then they would spot two objects falling from the sky. In the manga, we would actually see what these lights are, but in the anime, we don't know yet, so I'll skip over that again. This is where the chapter would end. Chapter 560, titled Rages at Ringside, begins with Mr. seeing two objects descending from the sky. And if you haven't realized, I call him about 4 names by now. Sir, Mr., Nacho Libre, and Superstar. His real name is Superstar. I just feel like calling him anything I want. Man, he fits so many monocoms. But anyways, once he sees these two objects, he wants to investigate, but Shuhei isn't letting him. He thinks that he can stop this raging bull, but then he gets his chain yanked and a lariat. Poor lieutenant. As he was about to stomp him out, he is saved by Kensei in the coolest freaking way. Kensei is disappointed that the lieutenant didn't get to show what he's really about. And wouldn't you know it, Superstar is very happy about that because now he can fight a captain. But what's this? he gets a 2-for-1 deal with Rose showing up out of the blue, and they would both take on this masked deviant. At the end of this episode, we get Ichigo still on his journey, seeming to become the perfect vessel, which is really cool, and he does reach his next training spot. So in the next episode, we'll probably see what's going to happen. But for now, that's where the episode ends and the chapter as well. So that's it for the episode. Pretty cool if you ask me. They animated much more than expected. So let's get to the numbers and see what's been done. Bleach, The 1,000-Year Blood War, episode 17, Heart of Wolf, covered 6 manga chapters. Each of these chapters would have an average of 17 pages, adding up to 64. Each of these pages would have an average of 53 panels, adding up to 321, with 3 of those being unique or not adapted. This means that only 318 panels were adapted across all 6 chapters, which brings our count to a 99.07% that was covered. Let me know in the comments below your thoughts on this episode and leave me a like on your way out. If you haven't subscribed as yet, please do, it really helps out the channel. I've been your host Kyle. Thanks again for joining V Nation. Peace out and stay safe out there.